Hey y'all, it's the Queen of O'Hara back to recap with you. Nobody wants to be with Kody. Season 1 millionth episode. Who even knows? Yes, we are talking about Sister Wives. Yes. Wow. Welcome back. If you have watched me before, if you hit the subscribe button, you'll never miss a video. And I appreciate any comments y'all want to leave. Let's just get right into it. Happy anniversary. Kody and Meri celebrated 30 years of marriage, of wedded bliss in this episode. Also, in this episode, now you have to remember it was filmed last year at the beginning of the pandemic. So, a lot of the episode was about how the families were taking precautions, how they were quarantining from each other, and Kody was just going to Christine and Robin's house. Because at this point, out of four wives, maybe one wants him. Um, it's kind of sad, if you have watched all the seasons or even if you haven't, you are really seeing a family unravel at this point, and they all speak on it this season more than ever. Um, but so they have decided to stay away from each other, and he's just been going in between Robin and Christine's. I think mostly Robin's from the way she tells it, and I think that's just probably at this point he just would his dream would be just to be married to Robin. Don't know if that's Robin's dream necessarily. Robin always seems to be very thoughtful of all the other wives, and she doesn't feel right him being at her house all the time. Girl, no, nobody wants him at their house. But he does get to go over to Janelle's house this time for the first time in like 5 or 6 weeks. So it does show her and her children talking about how they've decided to handle COVID within the family, and basically about the families really not being intertwined and spending time with each other, all the siblings from the different mothers and whatnot. So the big thing in this episode is Kody and Meri's 30th anniversary. Well, as you know, he said in the last episode, he don't even spend the night at Mary's anymore. Hasn't in years. There is no flame or romantic interest at all um, between them. But they decide to get together and celebrate their 30 years because after all, none of these 18 children and four wives Kody would have if it hadn't started with him and Meri having the thought and the belief to want to start a polygamous family, because Meri only had the one child with Kody. So um this was one of the most depressing wedding anniversaries I have ever witnessed. And working out in the service industry, I have witnessed some sad occasions um, with people being uncomfortable with one another or arguing or whatever. But so they decided to go out for a picnic because, after all, it's COVID restrictions, whatever. So they get some food together to go sit out in a field, basically so Kody can have a breakdown on their anniversary and start complaining about, never really says if it's Meri directly, but and Meri keeps mentioning midlife crisis, and maybe that's what it is. But I just, maybe all the bitching from four different wives has finally wore on this man, but he does not sound like he wants to be married to anyone. He sounds like he is regretting some life choices in this episode. Can we get a drink of tea on that one? Did you watch it? What did you think? Leave me a comment. I want to know. I mean, it is, and poor Meri apparently still, she finally opens up and shares in this episode she still wants to have a relationship with Kody, and he is saying shit like, "You're not courting me." Mhm. Which I love the word courting, and I think it sounds much more romantic than dating. But Kody wants to be wooed, and let me mention this too in this episode. Did anyone? I was a little distracted because did anyone else notice that Cody's hair looked like ramen? You know, ramen noodles when you take them out of the package and they're just, and so I kept thinking about that, about how his hair looked like ramen, and I was get distracted, but I mean, it was basically their whole anniversary of Kody talking about how he didn't want to be married to any of these women anymore, and he kept mentioning, um, you know, how some of them he didn't love anymore, and that how basically that he didn't love Meri anymore. It was a sad excuse for an anniversary. And it was uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable to watch. At one point, Meri asks him what he would do if she leaned over and kissed him, and it was just the most uncomfortable thing to watch, especially with people that have been married for 30 years. So I really think that Kody doesn't want to be the bad guy, and but he just wishes these women would move off and leave him, starting with Meri. And then, um Christine does not seem to be happy at all either. Him and Christine seem to be having problems. Janelle kind of just acts like she could take him or leave him. She's, kind of fine either way. And then Robin, I think Robin does love Kody, and she always seems very concerned about being fair to the other wives and very considerate of everyone else's feelings. And I mean, I feel like Robin's sincere. Um, it's just, but yeah, for the next big anniversary you have coming up, Kody, I just want to give you some advice. How about you don't tell the wife how much you don't love her? Nobody wants to hear that shit on any day, much less their anniversary, sitting out in the woods with your ramen noodle hair ass. Okay? No, Kody. That was a no-no. Exactly. Exactly. I think Kody maybe needs maybe some medication, maybe a trip to the spa for, a makeover. Um, he is definitely regretting. I think he got his feelings hurt because he came up with this idea of this house, this one big house, and none of the wives really were very supportive of that. And I think he got his feelings hurt. But it is very questionable as to why you would want to be in a plural marriage, and be a polygamist if you didn't want to all live together and share your lives together. So, I think it really speaks volumes the fact that the wives are, um, don't remember how long him and Robin have been married, but they've been married several years now, and the whole family is this far in and chooses not to want to live together. And I think that was just kind of maybe the final straw. And it sounded like he was just tired of hearing everyone complain to him about how they weren't happy. And he's telling all this to Meri on their anniversary, But then he's saying, I'm not necessarily talking about you. But then in some things, he is talking about her. So I'm just like, be a man, Kody. If you don't want to be married anymore, you need to, tell these women. I don't, and Mary's kind of like, well, what are you going to do, Kody? Just, walk off. You have 4 wives and 18 kids. So poor Meri. I wanted to call her and be like, girl, let's go get some Snoop on and make fun of Kody's hair. And then you feel bad for her because she's talking about how she really does want to, start things back up with Kody. I think she has been married this long and she wants to try to make it work. Who wants to start over at, 50 years old or however old her and Kody? I think Kody wants to start over. I think he probably wouldn't have any problem moving off and starting over with a whole new set of wives or maybe just one wife. I don't know. But it'll be very interesting in seeing how the rest of this season plays out. And I think next episode focuses on him and Christine's problems with each other. So, you know, it sounds like a good idea, getting a bunch of wives. Sounds like all fun and games until, none of them want to be married to you anymore. Or you don't want to be married to any of them. So, you know. Anyway, again, everything here is just my opinion. I would love to hear your opinion. Feel free to leave a comment, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, tell a friend. I mean, even if you haven't watched Sister Wives in forever, this will get you caught right back up. So, you know, it was good talking to everybody again. I hope y'all have a wonderful rest of the day. And remember, do something nice for someone else and do something nice for yourself. I will see y'all next time. Bye.